played by older players on the beach, but a fast growing code which its followers claim will one day rival rugby league, soccer and Aussie rules. And to prove their point, they invited Brian Anderson to touch football's first interstate game between New South Wales and South East Queensland.
The crowd was disappointingly small for the first interstate match in what's claimed to be Australia's fastest growing football code, though those last few moments before the game were just as tense as the lead up to any between a Queensland team and the mighty Blues of New South Wales.
Righto, this is what you've been training for. This is what you've come together for, to try and establish us. And looking at New South Wales there, they're a very young side. I'd say the average age of those blokes will be 20. 20-year-old. And they'll have a lot of speed. Now the main thing is, we discussed last weekend, that we don't get rattled. Just because they've got a blue jumper on, a lot of us here kind of go to pieces.
South East Queensland started as underdogs. Touch football has never been played on an organised national level before, and the local boys were still getting their act together.
I must admit I'm not terribly confident today because New South Wales have been training and had their team picked since January. Our guys have only had one run. We didn't have time to...
Not making excuses, are you?
No, not really making excuses, because I still believe we'll do well. I hope we'll do well. But we had to pick our teams from, ring up our divisions and say, look fellas, send us two of your best players and that's it. We just couldn't pick on form, and also it's the start of the season, so I think it'll be a very hard game for us, but I'm still hopeful.
If you're mentally beaten, as we discussed last week, look, it's only little fundamentals that this game's all about. If we're mentally beaten, we're well and truly beaten.
This wing. 20. Stay up. Yeah.
Once on the field, competition was tough. New South Wales had trained well and was playing with style, though that was later to prove no match for the tough determination of South East Queensland. Touch football has come a long way from being a social game for those not able to keep up the pace in regular league or union competition.
We've come a hell of a long way, really. In Brisbane, talking for the Metropolitan competition, we started off 6 years ago, scratching to get 8 teams for a side. It's now 1979 and we've got 58 teams. The other big competition in Brisbane is the Brisbane Touch Football Association, and this year I think they're fielding 45 teams, so that's a lot of people in Brisbane playing touch football. In Queensland, we've got about 15,000 people playing, and New South Wales, 40,000.
Is touch football a game for the old blokes who can't keep up the pace anymore?
Not only. That's how it started out. Touch football probably started out as a training run in rugby league and rugby union, and also, as you say, sort of down the backyard or in the local park.
Is it going to rival rugby league, soccer, Aussie rules? Is it getting to that standard?
It's getting to that stage. We look at it as a complete alternative to other codes of football.
It seems that touch footy in the future is likely to become another manifestation of the intense football rivalry between Queensland and New South Wales. And can we beat the mighty Blues? Well, we did on Saturday, 4 points to 2. Nice one, South East Queensland.
Well, the game is different, but the yells from the sideline are much the same. We'll take a break.
The serious nature of injuries which can be incurred playing football has led to an increase in interest in those codes which minimise rough body contact. This change in attitude has raised touch football from a very lowly position on the popularity scale to being just outside the top 10 most popular Australian sporting activities. That's quite an achievement for a game that many people once regarded as nothing more than a joke. Sandy Major reports.
A team of males playing females in a game like touch football may cause the raising of a few eyebrows and perhaps encourage some rather colourful thoughts. Of course, it's not the normal format, particularly at senior level. However, today the Queensland women's team and Queensland men's team have decided on their last day of practice to have a bit of a battle of the sexes before they go off to compete in the national championships.
So originally it was used as a rugby league practice game from the players who were able to train and still use all the skills without hurting each other. And of course then when they retired they kept up the sport, and the whole thing has just developed from that, and it's spread right across the country now.
Why do you think it's growing in popularity?
There are two reasons, I believe. One is it's becoming a family sport. Now that we have our men's open, women's open, men's seniors, which is 35 years and over, and our juniors starting up, we're finding whole families playing the sport. You often find mum, dad and the 3 kids are all playing it. And the other reason is because it's non-violent. It's basically a football sport that you can play without getting yourself hurt.
One problem that the game must face is a lot of people don't take it seriously. They say it's not real football, it's not a real game.
All I can say to those people is that until you actually play the sport, you probably don't realise the skills involved in it. Touch is probably, the skills of touch are what you see in a rugby league or a rugby union game when you see backline skills, the most exciting part, or what most people believe is the most exciting part of a rugby league or rugby union game. So it's a very fast running, handling game and has most of the skills that you would normally use in running or attacking and defending type football. And we've often found rugby league players are not fit enough to play it. They can get out there and play for one game, but you get them in a tournament over a weekend where they have to play about 6 matches, and by gee, they can't keep up the pace.
Well, at the moment there's a campaign going on to change the name from touch football to just touch. Why?
The main reason being is that with the new rules, which came in force October 1982, there is now no kicking in the game at all. So it's a bit hard to really call it football. So we hunted around and we drove ourselves crazy looking for a new name. And the only one that we could been able to come up with so far, which is acceptable to just about everybody, is touch. We looked at things like touch ball and all sorts of things, but it looks like it's going to be touch for a while, and it's probably going to take us about 10 years to get that across to the public. The name may change again because we're having to make touch a complete international sport involving New Zealand, England, France, Canada we've had contact with, and the US. So it may change again, and no doubt our rules will change too.
Whether or not touch will become a truly international sport, it is growing in popularity with teenagers all over Australia.
It's very attractive to young people because they have no chance of getting hurt, or very little chance of getting hurt. It's very demanding physically. It's a team sport, and it keeps them mentally stimulated and just encourages all the good things in life.
With touch growing in popularity in the schools, could it be a threat to the other codes?
We feel, yes, it probably would be a threat to them because it is becoming more and more popular. With over 100,000 people playing touch in Australia now, it would speak for itself. But we feel that also it's a sport that can be mixed with their other codes.
And all the best to both the men's and women's teams, which will be competing in the national competition to be held in Hobart this weekend. That's it for tonight. Until 6:30 tomorrow, have a pleasant evening and good night.